Greetings, Get the Pen family. Let's have a Get the Pen moment. This is Janine Folks, and you have tuned in to Get the Pen. And just like any video, this may or may not resonate with you. If it does, great. If not, maybe next video. But today, what I want to talk about, what's on my mind, is when your safe space is a danger zone. And if we knew the safe space was a danger zone, we wouldn't even call it a safe space. So sometimes, I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes what we think is a safe space is really a danger zone. And again, it's about awareness. If we don't know the dangers, then we think we're safe. If we knew the dangers, we wouldn't consider a safe place and we would flee immediately if we knew that danger lurked. And sometimes we are in a danger zone and we don't even know it. So what I want to do with this video today is just raise some awareness so that we can pay attention to things that are happening, pay attention to our surroundings so that we can discern when we are in a not so safe space. And sometimes when we're comfortable, we let our guard down, we stop paying attention, we stop looking around because we feel safe. And when you feel safe, I guess that's the whole point of a safe space, is being able to let your guard down. But we have to be careful because sometimes when we feel so safe and we let our guard down, which we should be able to do, there could still be danger lurking. So we have to be vigilant at all times, be alert at all times. And I'm not saying be paranoid or anxious or worried. We don't need to do all that, but we just need to be aware. And in our awareness, we can be proactive to avoid danger in difficult situations, if at all possible, or at least minimize their effects on our lives. So what do I want to illustrate here? And when I say danger zone, I don't mean like our life is in danger, like we're going to die. Okay, I don't mean necessarily like that. When I say danger, I mean trouble. I mean difficulty that's unnecessary, not detrimental, but it could be annoying or it could be a hindrance. So that's what I mean by danger. I'm not saying that a bomb is about to drop or, something violent is getting ready to erupt. I mean, that could be the case, but that's not necessarily what I'm saying. Let me give you a few examples. Trying something different. How about that as an example? I was watching the series Lost. It's a really old series that I watched years ago, but decided to revisit it because it popped up on my Netflix suggestions, right? So I said, that was a good series. Let me just kind of give myself a refresher. So in the first episode, there was a situation that resonated with me. And if you've seen Lost, you probably are familiar with the scenario and the setting and the theme. These passengers were traveling, they were in an airplane and the plane crashed and they ended up in this remote area, I don't know if it was an island or somewhere in the wilderness. They were literally lost, and that's the name of the show. So right after the crash, there were some survivors that were ejected from the plane, and the plane, after it crashed, I was going to say landed, uncontrolled landing, it just started exploding, and parts of the plane were just flying everywhere, shrapnel just shooting out from the wreckage. And so people were kind of scattering because they didn't know which way to go. They couldn't find a safe place because you didn't know what was about to happen, and things were just falling and landing and exploding everywhere. And so one of the wings of the airplane, the doctor, or the guy, I think he was a doctor, he saw that the wing was about to fall and there was a young lady under the wing, and then there was another guy who was in the area and he saw what was about to happen. So he ran and he grabbed the lady to move her from underneath the wing because he saw that it was about to fall. There was another guy who was under there. He was so scared that he couldn't move, and he thought he was in a safe space, but he didn't know that wing was about to drop. He had no idea of the danger he was in. And he was so hesitant to move because he felt safe, comfortable. He thought if he moved, he might run into some other trouble. So to avoid the other trouble, he thought it was best if he stayed in that spot. But fortunately for him, the guy that saw the wing about to fall convinced him to move. And it took a lot of doing. And he finally moved out of the way. And as soon as he got out of the way, boom, the wing came crashing down. So he was like a millisecond from being destroyed. If he would have stayed in that spot that he thought was safe, he was about to be in danger. And he reminded me of a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are in a space that they think is safe because they see so much catastrophe surrounding them. They think it's everywhere else but here, so I'm going to stay here, not knowing that something was lurking and about to happen. And thankfully, there was an onlooker who saw it and warned him and got him out of there. But how many people get warnings and they still won't move? They still won't get out of harm's way because they feel safe there, because they don't see the threat. They think they're safe, and they think that all the disasters are happening around them and it's not happening to them or not about to happen to them. That's how a lot of people live their life day to day. When they're in that safe, comfortable spot, they want to stay there. And when danger is around and people try to warn them, they may or may not listen. So I've seen that with money matters. I've seen it with relationships and just everyday life things where people don't want to move. They don't want to get out of harm's way because they don't see the harm and they are afraid to make a move. I don't know who I'm talking to, but let me give you some more examples and how I'm applying this principle to life. Recently, I just got a new rewards credit card. It's prestigious in my mind because I get daily money back on my purchases. I get 2% just for spending money on the things that I normally spend money on every day. 2% every day. So every day on my transactions, I can see the money that I'm getting back on things that I would have purchased anyway. But the only difference is I'm using this particular card as opposed to my debit card where I use my money and there's no benefit to using my money. But now with this card, I can use somebody else's money and get 2% back. And it's almost like having a savings account that's yielding 2 to 3% every day. And so I've only had the card for about a month and I've watched the money that I'm getting back, and I'm almost at $100 in a month. So this is an extra $100 that I'm getting per month just because I'm using this card as opposed to using my debit card. Now the catch to that is I'm using this card, getting the daily money back, but every month I have to pay it off. In fact, I pay it off more than once a month. Every time I get money, I put money into this account to keep it funded because I'm using this instead of cash because it's beneficial because I'm getting money back. It's like they're paying me to use this card. Now, I tried to convince somebody else that they should do this because you're going to get an extra $60 to $100 a month just for using the card. They're paying you to use the card. Now, you don't want to just accumulate debt and start paying interest. The thing is, you've got to pay this thing off for me, I pay on it like every week because instead of using cash, I'm swapping it out and I'm just paying on the card, using the card, getting the 2 to 3%. But this other person just felt like, no, it wasn't worth the trouble, or they just didn't trust it. It just didn't seem right. Nobody's just going to pay you just to use a card. But yes, they are because I'm doing it. But you have a person so afraid to step out and do something different that they're missing out on an extra $60 to $100 a month just based on fear and their unwillingness to educate themselves on something, to try something new. And this happens all the time because we refuse to educate ourselves about investing in the stock market and how even whole life insurance policies work and things like that. Because we refuse to learn about these things, we refuse to use them, and then you're losing money. And sometimes you don't think you're losing money because it's not being taken away from you, but you can be losing money just on the money that you could be getting, but you're not getting. So that is a form of losing money, because you could be getting this, but you're not, because you're afraid or because you refuse to educate yourself. And I understand that there are things to be leery of. There are scams out there. There are things, what do they call, like Ponzi schemes and things like that. But that's where education comes in. That's where wisdom and discernment come in. You have to be wise in these things. And because we've seen some other negative activity and people being taken advantage of, we're aware of that. So then it shuts us down and makes us afraid across the board. And so you're ruling out the good and the bad, when the good could be helping you if you learn how to differentiate between the good and the bad. So you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Save the baby, okay? Learn how to differentiate and take advantage of the opportunities that are out there that can bless your life. So we're missing out on blessings. And to me, that's a loss. But to some people, that they don't see it as a loss because they don't even know what they could have had, if that makes any sense. So I guess I'm saying all this to say, sometimes you need to look around, make sure you're not in danger when you think you're safe. And again, I don't want to create paranoia. I just want to create awareness. Be aware. And there are certain things that you feel like you can't let go of, that you need to let go of, because then some blessings might come. There are things in your life that you don't think you can accept, when these things are blessings or could be blessings, but you refuse to accept them because you're leery of them. Educate yourself. Pray. Ask God for wisdom and guidance, okay? There are a lot of things that could work for you, but you're afraid, you're hesitant, you're reluctant because you have trust issues. You've seen other people get burnt on things, and you're trying to protect yourself. And in your efforts to protect yourself, you're hurting yourself. Or even if you're not hurting yourself, you're preventing yourself from being further blessed, if that makes any sense. So you got to be open. Be open to things that are out of your comfort zone, things that are out of your norm. And a lot of times we're missing out because of these walls we have put up, because of these rules that we have set up for ourselves. They're our own rules. And I understand standards, as we should have standards, but be careful with the standards, and make sure that you're not creating rules that are preventing you from having certain blessings or certain levels of joy and happiness that you could be having in your life. Our abundant life is all around us, and the only reason if you're not experiencing an abundant life is because of the limitations that you're placing on yourself because of your own rules. And I'm not going to get into my own personal examples, but sometimes we have to let go of the I would never. Maybe you should, okay? This has been a Get the Pen moment. I don't know who this is for or who it helped, but I hope something was said that might open your eyes, that might open you up to the possibilities that you never thought could be. This has been a Get the Pen moment. Be blessed. Have a great day.